Ho ho ho, early Merry Christmas, everybody. Sorry, I'm not Sam, but I am Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is December 23rd, or Christmas Eve, if you want to call it that. We got a powerful storm system that's already formed over the Gulf of Alaska. This is associated with that powerful jet stream I've been talking about in the last few forecast videos. It has formed and it's starting to move over the Pacific Ocean towards the west coast. We're going to have a weak front moving through on Christmas Eve tomorrow. And then we're going to have potential for some atmospheric rivers moving into the region as we go through Christmas Day and into the days after Christmas. And this is associated with that powerful jet stream that is forming over the Gulf of Alaska and much of the North Pacific Ocean as that cold air moves off of Siberia and the Asian continent. That's going to lead for a lot of storm formation in the Gulf of Alaska, which is going to lead to active weather here on the West Coast. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now we're looking at general ridge and trough positions on the European model. This is actually fresh off the press. Here's Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California. Here's Hawaii down here. Here's Russia and Japan over here. Now we're looking at the wide view of things. You can see already the Gulf of Alaska storm that I just showed on the satellite imagery forming over the Gulf of Alaska. This is going to bring a weak frontal system into parts of the Pacific Northwest, especially the coastline areas as we go through Christmas Eve. And if we play this out, we got a slight ridge building in early on Christmas, but you can see another powerful storm system forming over parts of the Gulf of Alaska with another one behind it. This is going to bring a possible atmospheric river and a relatively strong frontal system that's going to start moving into parts of western British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon with some breezy to windy conditions and also some moderate to heavy rainfall, especially for some of those mountain locations as we go through later on the afternoon and into the evening of Christmas Day. And then you can see that move out. And as we go through Wednesday, the 27th, and late on Tuesday, you can see that we have another strong storm system approaching the coastline that weekends as well before another storm system forms before weakening and also moving into the west coast. This one's has potential to bring some more precipitation in the parts of California that just got hit by the storm system earlier this week. Then the models are showing a potential ridge forming as we go through the last couple of days of December into early January, but we'll continue to look at that as we go. And now looking at the jet stream, here's Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California as well. This is the same wide view of things. You can see this powerful jet stream with winds over 200 miles per hour, a very powerful jet stream. And that's going to lead to a perfect environment for some powerful storms to form over the Gulf of Alaska. Fortunately, that the main part of the jet stream is going to be staying over the Gulf of Alaska, so that means most of the storm systems forming are going to become really powerful, but they're going to stay over the open water, so only the frontal systems will be moving into parts of the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest. So that's going to spare us from the strongest storm systems as we go through this holiday season. And if we continue through this later this week and into next weekend, you can see this jet stream just continue over the area. But you can see it starts weakening by the end of this model run as we go into early January. This is going to lead to some more waves breaking, and this is going to bring a more amplified pattern, which means there's going to be more changes in the weather. So we may get a ridge and then a storm and a ridge, just kind of like that, instead of just a continued storm after storm. But we'll continue to look at that as we go. Here's the mean sea level pressure on the European model. This is Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California. You can see the powerful storm system that has formed over the Gulf of Alaska. This is going to move into parts of southern Alaska as we go through later today into tomorrow. You can see the frontal system, a weak frontal system, kind of moving through parts of Washington, British Columbia as we go through Christmas Eve. But then on the middle of the day on Christmas, you can see a relatively strong frontal system moving into the Pacific Northwest, the powerful low going up towards Haida Gwaii and British Columbia. And then you can see another strong storm system forming on the south side of that as this cold air just continues to spill over the Gulf of Alaska. This storm system was looking kind of interesting, but it's kind of starting to turn more offshore than previous models were showing. So this is going to spare us from the strongest ones, but some breezy, the windy conditions are possible as we go through Wednesday and the Thursday with that. And then you can see another storm system forming and combining with that storm system as we go through later Thursday into parts of Friday as well, bringing more precipitation to the coast. But then you can see it builds a ridge over the much of the West Coast as we go through the last day of December into the first day of January. But we'll continue to look at that. Now looking at the 6-hour precipitation in inches, this is British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California. You can see as we go through tomorrow, Christmas Eve, by the late morning, early afternoon, you can see the precipitation rain showers moving in the area. Some breezy conditions are possible in the coastlines and parts of the northwest interior of Washington, including the San Juan Islands, Whidbey Island, and parts of Whatcom County, but not expecting too much with that. But then you can see as we go through Christmas, a potential atmospheric river moves into the region, brings some heavy precipitation to parts of southwest BC and Vancouver Island. This is going to also bring a chance for some relatively strong winds for parts of the northwest interior of Washington, mainly parts of Island County, including Whidbey Island and the San Juan County as well, and along the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and parts of the areas along the Strait of Georgia in southwest BC. This continues as we go through the day after Christmas on Tuesday, before yet another atmospheric river tries to move into the region on Wednesday. But you can see this is more parallel to the coastline, and it's kind of just going to be one of our regular winter fronts for here in the Pacific Northwest. But this system paralleling the coastline is going to lead to the heaviest precipitation amounts from this atmospheric river moving into the southwest beat and some of the mountains up there. Some of the models previously were having this more perpendicular coastline, which would bring a heavy precipitation event to parts of Washington and Oregon, but that doesn't look as likely. So this is going to bring some more blustery conditions and also some rain showers to the region as we go through Wednesday and Thursday. Then you can see additional systems as we go into next weekend as well. Now looking at the 10-meter wind gusts on the European model, if we play this out, you can see the kind of breezy conditions with the frontal system on Christmas Eve, especially parts of the northwest interior. But as we go through Christmas Day, you can see the winds really starting to pick up on the coastlines, potential for gusts over 50 miles per hour along those exposed beach lines. Also some chances for some 50 mile per hour plus wind gusts for parts of the San Juan Islands and parts of Whidbey Island as well as we go through Christmas. Some isolated power outages are possible, but hopefully that doesn't affect people's dinners that they may be having on Christmas. Hopefully that the winds shouldn't be too strong, but they're going to be strong enough to maybe lead to some isolated power outages. And then now as we go into late on Tuesday into early Wednesday, you can see the next frontal system approaching the region, some blustery conditions for the coastlines in the northwest interior as well. Not expecting too much windy conditions in the Seattle metro and Portland areas, but it may get blustery to a bit breezy as well over in those areas. And then you can see the continued frontal systems as we go through next weekend. Now looking at the national blend of models, this is total precipitation in inches. If I play this out, you can see just the bombarding systems as we go through this week and into next weekend, but it's not going to bring a ton of precipitation to the parts of the lowlands, maybe a half inch to an inch, maybe. But you can see the coastlines and the mountains really getting hit with maybe 2 to 4 inches for parts of the Cascades of Washington and maybe Oregon and a lot of the coastline as well. These precipitation amounts will change as we go through later this week, but this is kind of gives us a good idea of where the wettest locations will be. Vancouver Island kind of getting smoked with those atmospheric rivers. Now, as we go through, this is the total snow in inches on the national blend of models. You can see not that much snowfall is expected in the mountains as we go through Christmas Eve into Christmas, especially the lowlands, as these systems are going to be rather warm with southwest moist air moving off the Pacific Ocean. If we play this through, maybe getting a foot to 2 feet of snow for parts of the Washington Cascades and the highest elevation. Some of the passes will maybe get some wintry conditions, and they were having some wintry conditions yesterday. So just have a heads up if you're going through parts of the passes through this week. And then now let's look at the 10-meter wind gusts and national blend of models. This kind of gives us a slightly better idea of what winds we may expect, but it's also showing maybe even some 60 mile per hour wind gusts starting to approach the coastlines as we go through later on Christmas, and some 50 mile per hour plus winds showing up near Whidbey Island and the San Juan. So definitely some isolated power outages possible as we go through later on Christmas, the evening of Christmas. And then you can see those die down as we go through later in the week, and then another system moving in on Wednesday as we saw. Now looking at the daily 2-meter temperatures on the National Blind Models, you can see today a bit brisk out there as that cold front yesterday moved through the Pacific Northwest. Highs in the 40s for much of the western locations, and highs mainly in the low 40s into the 30s for much of eastern Washington and Oregon. But as we go into Sunday, things start chilling down for parts of eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, with maybe Spokane not even getting above freezing tomorrow on Sunday, Christmas Eve. So definitely chilly out east if you're heading out there. And this will kind of continue as we go through later this week. Temperatures will warm above freezing for the high temperatures out east as those warm atmospheric river type storm systems move into the area. Maybe highs approaching 50 degrees for parts of Seattle. But now looking at daily 2-meter temperatures, this is the minimum temperatures. You can see that eastern locations are really in the ice box as we go through Christmas Eve, maybe approaching freezing for much of western Washington and parts of the Willamette Valley in Oregon as well. So be careful out there Christmas Eve morning, as there may be some frost and ice on some of the roadways, especially if you're out in the boondocks. As we go through Monday, at Christmas and later, you can see the low temperatures still getting into the low to middle 20s for much of the eastern locations. Lows getting above freezing for Washington, Oregon, western Washington and Oregon. So not expecting freezes as we go on Christmas and later. Now, here's a nice graph from the National Weather Service of Portland. There's a high threat of sneaker waves as the storm systems move through this week. This is from today, the 23rd, through Thursday, the 28th. So avoid jetties. Waves will run up higher than normal. Avoid logs near waterline on beaches. Also, don't turn your back on the ocean and just be careful out there. Holiday weekend outlook from the National Weather Service of Pendleton, Oregon. You can see Saturday through Sunday dry with patchy areas of low clouds and fog, highs in the 30s to low 40s. Christmas Eve, a 30% chance of snow in some of the Cascades, dry elsewhere. Christmas Day, 30% chance of snow in the Cascades in the afternoon with a 40 to 60% chance of mountain snow and low elevation rain/snow mix Monday night, so Christmas evening as those systems move through. Here's a nice Christmas graphic from the National Weather Service of Pendleton, Oregon. They're showing that the gusty winds are going to be possible for parts of the coastlines and some of those valley locations, especially in the Cascades as we go through Tuesday night through Wednesday. Gusty winds could blow away unsecured objects like holiday decorations or patio furniture. Isolated trees and tree limbs may fall. So just be careful out there as we go through Tuesday and the Wednesday if you're in parts of Southwest Oregon. Chances for snow on Christmas. Here's a nice graph from the National Weather Service of Medford, Oregon as well. You can see most lowland places have around a 0% chance of snowfall, but for if you really want to get some snowfall on Christmas Day and night, head out the Crater Lake or Lake of the Woods if you want to have the best chances of getting a white Christmas. Here's a 7-day holiday outlook from National Weather Service of Eureka, California. You can see dry as we go through Saturday, but parts of Northern California will start getting some light rain showers and breezy on the windy on the coastlines as we go through later this week, especially on Tuesday and Wednesday when gusty southerly winds and snow at higher elevations will be possible. And now here's another nice graphic from the National Weather Service of San Francisco Bay Area. Sorry about that. Rain arrives after Christmas. You can see maybe a ½ to an inch of rain for parts of San Francisco, drier as you go eastward. Maybe parts of the coastlines of northwestern California may be approaching 1.5 to 2 inches, especially for those coastal mountain ranges. So California will start getting on the precipitation as we go through later this week as well after Christmas. Now looking at the European ensemble members, this is for Whidbey Island Naval Air Station in northwest Washington State. You can see the blustery winds coming to parts of the northwest, especially parts of the San Juans as well. You can see gusts approaching 40 miles per hour, but we also saw there's chances of some gusts approaching 50 miles per hour or over as we go through Christmas and later. Here's looking at the Seattle Tacoma International Airport, SeaTac. You can see some breezy blustery conditions on Christmas evening and also as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday. Seattle Tacoma International Airport total precipitation inches, maybe getting over ½ an inch of rain as we go through later this week. Not a very rainy storm systems for at least the lowlands, especially the interior lowlands. Here's the Portland International Airport wind gusts as well. You can see it's going to get blustery down there the next few days as well. Portland International Airport total precipitation in inches. You can see maybe a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain as we go through later this week into Thursday with those systems moving through. Here's for San Francisco International Airport. It's going to be pretty dry, likely through Thursday into Friday before storm systems may start returning the parts of California as we saw earlier. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This is for December 28th through January 1st. You can see above average temperatures for much of the West Coast as those warm Pacific storm systems move in. Above average precipitation expected in this time frame for parts, most of California. Below average, I'm starting to approach western, most of Washington, parts of eastern Oregon as we go through this time frame. That's when that ridge of high pressure may start building over parts of the Pacific Northwest. So we'll continue to watch that as we go. 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is going through December 30th through January 5th. Above average temperatures expected as that ridge of high pressure and some of the specific storm systems continue on parts of the West Coast, bringing that modest air into the region. Above average precipitation for much of the West Coast, except maybe parts of Washington and northern Oregon, where below average to near average is expected. But we'll continue to look at this, and there's still plenty of active weather to look at as we go through late December into early January. Well, that's it for this video. I hope everybody enjoyed this video and found it informative and fun. Just please hit that like button, subscribe buttons down below this video, and also hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any new videos I post. I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and stays safe out there as these storm systems move into the region. Some blustery winds and some moderate to heavy rainfall possible at times as we go through Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the days leading after Christmas. So take care, God bless, and have a wonderful holiday.